So you're planning a trip to Vietnam. It is an absolutely incredible country. But let's be honest, that visa system can feel like a total maze of codes and rules. Don't worry though. In this explainer, we're going to give you the map to get through it all.
So ask yourself this. Are you just planning a quick vacation, or are you dreaming of something a little more? Maybe starting a business, finding a job, or even settling down for a couple of years. How you answer that one question changes absolutely everything.
Before you can even think about staying long-term, you've got to learn what I like to call the alphabet soup. These letters on your visa stamped, they're not just random. They are the codes that will literally dictate your entire life in Vietnam.
Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll decode that alphabet soup. Then, we'll cover the easiest way in, the e-visa. After that, we'll dive into the options for work and business, map out what it takes to get residency, and unlock the ultimate goal, the TRC. We'll wrap up with some key rules you gotta know to make sure everything goes smoothly.
All right, let's jump right in. The visa alphabet soup. You're going to see these letters like DL, DON, or LD, and trust me, they are not suggestions. They're strict codes that define exactly what you can do, what you can't do, and for how long.
So let's run through the big ones. You see DL, that's for tourists, and you're capped at 90 days. A DN visa is for business, and that can get you up to a year. If you've got a job offer, you're looking at an LG visa, which is good for 2 years. And then you've got the investor and dependent visas. These are the real keys to staying for a much longer time.
Okay, so how do most people actually start their journey? Well, that brings us to the e-visa. You should think of this as your 90-day gateway into Vietnam.
The process itself is surprisingly easy. You just go to the official government portal, and please make sure it's the official one to avoid any scams, fill out the form, pay the fee, and usually within a few days your e-visa pops up in your email. It's as simple as that.
Now, here is the huge update that really changed the game for a lot of travelers. The e-visa is now valid for up to 90 days. This is fantastic news. It gives you so much more breathing room to really explore the country or get those first business meetings set up.
And you get 2 choices. For $25, you get a single entry visa. But if you pay $50, you can get a multiple entry visa. This is perfect if you think you might want to, hop over to Thailand or Cambodia for a weekend and come right back.
Okay, but listen up, because this is the most important thing you need to understand about the e-visa. It is a temporary pass. It's technically a tourist visa, a DL, and that means it absolutely does not qualify you for a temporary residence card. Think of it as the starting line, not the finish line.
Which leads us perfectly into our next section. What if you want to move past just being a tourist? Let's look at how you can build a more professional, long-term stay.
And this slide just lays out the massive difference. A tourist visa, you get that on your own. But a work visa, the LD, that requires a company in Vietnam to actually sponsor you. And that sponsorship, well, that's the key that unlocks everything. It bumps your stay up to 2 years, and most importantly, it makes you eligible for that residency card we've been talking about.
All right, now we're moving into the really serious long-term stuff. If you're planning on putting your own money into a business in Vietnam, the country has a very clear path to long-term residency through investor visas.
And the system is actually really simple. The more you invest, the longer you can stay. If you invest over 50 billion Vietnamese dong, you get the top-tier DOT-1 visa, which can be good for an incredible 10 years. Smaller investments will get you 3 to 5 years. It's a direct trade, your capital for your time in the country.
But look, whether you're a worker or an investor, you're eventually going to ask this question, right? How do you stop stressing about expiry dates and doing border runs every few months? How do you actually, settle in? The answer for anyone who's serious about living in Vietnam is unlocking the TRC, the Temporary Residence Card. This really is the golden ticket we've been building up to.
So what is it exactly? Well, a TRC is a physical card, kind of like a driver's license, and it completely replaces the visa in your passport. It lets you live in Vietnam for its entire duration, from 1 to 10 years, and you can fly in and out of the country as much as you want without ever needing a new visa. For anyone living long-term, it's total freedom.
But let's be super clear about who can't get one of these. If you are in Vietnam as a tourist, a short-term visitor, or if you're just visiting relatives, a TRC is not on the table. Your stay is, by definition, temporary.
Now this is the list that matters. To get a TRC, you basically have to be sponsored. This means you're a worker with a valid work permit, you're an investor who's put down capital, you're the spouse or child of someone who already has a TRC, or in some cases, you're a student. Okay, wow.
We have covered a lot. So let's wrap this all up with the most important, non-negotiable rules you have to remember to stay legal and out of trouble.
This is rule number 1, and it comes straight from Vietnamese law. You cannot overstay your visa. Period. The old days of easy extensions and grace periods, they're long gone. If you overstay, you are facing daily fines and you could even get blacklisted. Always, always leave before that date stamped in your passport.
And rule number 2. This one trips up so many people. If you're applying for that TRC, your passport has to be valid for at least 13 months from the day you apply. If it's valid for even 1 day less, they will reject your application. So go check your passport's expiration date right now.
And finally, here's a super important update for 2026. As of February this year, the way immigration handles things has shifted. It seems like they're now fast-tracking TRC applications for people who are already on a proper worker or dependent visa. If you're on a different type, like a business visa, you'll probably need to convert it first. That's a huge procedural change you need to know about.
So, here it is, your final checklist. 1. Know your visa symbol. It defines everything. 2. If you need an extension, apply at least 30 days early and remember you'll need a sponsor. And 3. If long-term is your goal, aim for a qualifying visa like an LD or DT from the very beginning. It just makes getting that TRC so much easier. So the question is, will your 90-day trip just be a holiday or is it the start of a whole new chapter? The path you choose on day 1 will decide.